Okay, gonna have to do LFC while walking to go get lunch today. It is unfortunately raining out and it is just not the best weather to sit down and talk anywhere. But hey, a 1-2 loss, I'm fine with that. If you're an LCS fan, like, think about this in isolation. We, as the number 2 seed from North America, just took the LPL to 3 games in a best-of-3 series, and we look decent. I mean, yes, game 1 and game 3 were stomped, specifically the bot lane. Like, Stixxay did not have a good series. There's no hiding that. There's no sugarcoating it. Elk had his way with him pretty much the entire series. The only reason we came back in game 2 was because he was on a good playmaker. We were able to combo that with River and Gory, and then obviously Stixxay was able to pick up some kills in the end and finish with a pretty decent stat line. But let's not forget the early game that made this game so much more difficult than it necessarily could have and should have been. But alas, we still got the dub, and it was entertaining, and I love this format. I love the fact that we still get a chance in losers bracket to play against what's likely going to be GAM, what's also likely going to be PSG Talon. The G2 PSG series is still ongoing at the time of me recording this, but I have meetings all afternoon, so I kind of have to go out and do this now. Let me cut across the street. So yeah, that's where we sit. I am not... The one thing that I will criticize us for, especially in game 3, was after we saw that he clearly did better on a playmaker, we put him on Morgana, which I did not like. Personally, I think he just has a good brain for the game and clearly needs to be on somebody that has a little bit more agency than a Morgana that's just there to provide, a few bindings in lane if possible, but we got stomped in lane. Black shields to bail out Jinx, but that didn't matter. And ultimately, River on the initiator fully wasn't the play, it seemed like. Like, the difference between game 2 and him being on Gragas to help set up the Yasuo, but it was still a lot of Cassante really kind of flash engaging and starting all these fights, was a night and day difference between that and the Licorice on Poppy that clearly just wasn't as effective. Like, once Ben was on Scion duty and he had Poppy, like, Ben just took over game 3, and there was really not much that we could do, all things considered. I think Gory actually had a pretty good series all around. He was keeping up for the most part, but it was actually Paul that said this when we talked on the podcast yesterday, that for the most part, LPL mid laners have not been great. So the fact that Gory was able to keep up is pretty much in line with at least his expectations, and I trust his judgment over anything. So overall, can't really complain about it. It's difficult really to add a lot of context to this series. I mean, obviously you're hyped as a North American fan to possibly stand a chance here, but let's be honest. Like, even though I predicted us to win yesterday out of the Hopium angle, we weren't the favorites, and we shouldn't have been going into that series. So, I don't know. The bigger talking point is going to be the upcoming matches, and I'll save most of my chat for that. What I want to spend the rest of this video talking about, and this is going to be a slightly shorter one just due to work and complications here, is the 100 Thieves announcement, or not announcement, the 100 Thieves roster rumor that got reported today, that apparently Someday is back and Tenacity is likely out. Assuming Sniper is still in Challenger, which none of this is official, none of this is confirmed yet, but I would assume Tenacity is probably going elsewhere in the LCS, maybe EG, maybe somewhere else, and we are going to start Someday. So the roster will likely be, assuming there's no other big announcements, it will be Someday, Closer, Quid, who's Gen.G's Academy mid laner, young LCK prodigy player who is reportedly going to be really good, and then Doublelift and Busio. I've seen people talking about Doublelift should swap to a content creator role. Like, I don't agree with that. Plus, you also can't. We have 2 imports right now with Quid and Closer that Doublelift literally has to play because Unforgiven cannot. So Doublelift is 100% playing in this roster. I'm not sure why people think otherwise. Personally, I would rather us have given Tenacity the full year. Now, I have been saying this since last year that I don't think Tenacity is going to be our top laner going forward. And people question me on it, like, well, you know, Tenacity's a promising top laner, so is Sniper, who would possibly replace him. What's the difference? There's a mechanical difference of when you hit Challenger at 12 years old and just a good player. Like, I know this sounds dumb, but at the end of the day, there's #1 draft picks in the NBA every year. There's #1 draft picks in baseball every year. They're all great players, but it is blanketly apparent when somebody has something different underlying than the rest. And I understand that people are going to look at Tenacity and Sniper and say they're cut from the same quilt. It just seems like the hands are better on Sniper, and he's coming from a family of people who have played professionally before, who can help him out a little bit better. There might not end up being any difference at all, but to me, there is. And I think we will eventually see that as time goes on in 2-3 years' time. I'd be willing to bet that Sniper will be more of a mainstay in the LCS top lane than Tenacity, assuming that we still have import rules in place and both of them are still even playing and we're not just importing all Korean top laners. As for the talent development round, because I saw this on Twitter and I got a lot of shit for it, for tweeting out about it, I had to actually go back and look at the historical young talent that 100 Thieves has had, because for those that don't know, I didn't become a fan of them until Optic left the LCS, so this would be 2020 that everything officially kicked off and began. And the time that a lot of people were pissed off about in terms of them changing rosters too quickly, etc., was before my time. 2020, 100 Thieves sucked, if we're being completely honest. We didn't really have a good roster, like Stunt and Crew and Ryoma. Ryoma being one of those younger players that we brought over from OCE that clearly did not work out, and he's not playing in the LCS anywhere else, so it's not like that should be looked down upon for us cutting him. Maybe looked down upon for us bringing him in, but that's a whole separate point. So then the question becomes, what players have 100 Thieves started or not started that shows that they don't care about talent development? And when you think about talent development with 100 Thieves, the roster that I think most people go to is the initial, like, really good academy roster of Tenacity, Kenvi, I forget who their mid laner was, but then you had Busio and somebody else in support. I'm sorry, I'm blanking right now. But at the end of the day, we gave up Busio to CLG, or not Busio, sorry. Poom, Jesus Christ. We gave up Poom to CLG, and he's been a decent support, all things considered. I think most people would say right now he's kind of hit a ceiling. The question is whether he'll be able to break through to the next level, but as of right now, he's somewhat peaking. Kenvi has not worked out, and neither one of those two should be a negative reflection on 100 Thieves, because you're not going to put in Poom at the time over Huhi, who is playing incredibly well. And you're not going to put in Kenvi over Closer, who's playing incredibly well. Tenacity, for all intents and purposes, really is the first player from that set of roster, or that group of players, that is getting his chance, and we're stopping after one split. I can't fight that that's probably too early, and it's probably also a result of bad coaching this split, because I've been publicly criticizing our own coaching staff for clearly not developing Busio and Tenacity at all, having issues like Koss got fired, Duke Duck's not even going to be the coach, now we're going to have Kane coming in. Kane, I can't honestly say has had the best track record with developing talent. He's always had like really great talent around him in Team Liquid. So, being honest, because why would I say anything otherwise? It's a very fair point to criticize 100 Thieves for this. But I think this is also a LCS-wide thing, that people just think that talent gets replaced too quickly. And I will agree to a certain extent, but there's not many players that I know, I can think of in my mind, that teams have, like top teams, have cut and they've gone on to prove them wrong after like 1 or 2 splits. Tenacity, by all means, I hope he plays incredibly well wherever he goes after this. But if he doesn't hit that ceiling, then in hindsight, are we going to give 100 Thieves benefit of the doubt if it ends up being a smart play and tenacity doesn't work out? I don't know. It's a tough question to try and figure out, to try and ask. I don't have the answers at the end of the day. But ultimately, as a 100 Thieves fan and somebody that's been expecting Sniper to play at the beginning of next year, someday going in doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. I see it as a Band-Aid, as them trying to make sure that they can guarantee 4th place, and even if someday did have a rougher spring split than years past, at the end of the day, him pairing with Closer, you know what you're going to get. So I fully expect 100 Thieves to be top 4 in summer. I fully expect them to go to Worlds. And at the end of the day, if they don't hit that, then yeah, I blame coaching. I blame the ability to get this roster to work together, and maybe you have to look at double lift as well. But that's a problem for a later date. For now, at least, I really need to get food and go.